Two high-profile child pornography cases located right here in Bryan College Station are highlighting an increase in sexual exploitation.
After they were arrested on charges of receiving and possessing child pornography.
The allegations are disturbing.
I've spent weeks talking with experts, learning just who these people are, how we can work to keep kids safe, and how they can protect themselves.
When we're talking about subjects or predators, everyone's looking for a monster, right? In a lot of these cases, it's the guy next door.
It's disgusting, it's heinous.
We'll take you through just how these kinds of cases happen in our backyard.
98 to 99% of them are known to the child. It is your family friends, it is your family members.
And how creeps wind up behind bars.
The use of the internet has increased the ability for predators to exploit children much more widely and much more often.
This for almost 43 years now. I couldn't count the amount of homicides I've worked or scenes that I've been on, but I can tell you every child and every baby, they don't go away.
The facts are staggering. In the last decade and a half, child pornography production convictions have increased by more than 400%. The Southern District of Texas, from the Brazos Valley southwest to Laredo and Brownsville, tops the list with the most offenders nationwide. The Western District, from Waco to El Paso, trails closely behind. It's a crime made easier by smartphones and the internet. Nearly half of the content comes through social media, instant messengers, online gaming, and live streaming. It's content produced most often by a person the child trusts. Overwhelmingly, they're white men, college-educated, generally with little to no prior criminal history. Like a spider and its prey, catching predators sometimes takes a web spun by federal agents who put themselves in the shoes of a criminal.
I can be anybody that I want to be on the internet in the next 2 minutes and change that identity. And that's one of the things that we combat when we're looking at child exploitation.
The FBI's Child Exploitation Task Force creates advertisements and has conversations to lure those looking for sexual encounters with children. That's how records show they found Edward Green in South Carolina looking to sexually assault a child.
I mean, they're burned into your memory.
In April, charging documents say Green drove 11 hours from North Augusta, South Carolina to Toledo, Ohio. He was hoping to begin a sexual relationship with a 7-year-old. Instead, he wound up behind the walls of an Ohio prison. That web doesn't just catch one creep.
It is not uncommon to have one investigation ongoing and then it turns into another investigation just because through that process you're going to identify like-minded individuals.
Green wasn't alone on the web. He was talking to other people like him online, sharing information and content.
The use of the internet has increased the ability for predators to exploit children much more widely and much more often.
Messages on Green's phone led investigators to a woman in Pontiac, Michigan, Sarah Chadwick. A criminal complaint says Chadwick and Green spent December 2022 messaging on apps like Wickr, WhatsApp, and Telegram, sharing and talking about child pornography. Chadwick was arrested at her home in Michigan in early November.
It's disgusting, it's heinous.
Court documents say Chadwick had taken and shared photos of a nude 8-year-old. She's also charged with distributing child pornography photos and videos, including what the government called minors engaging in sexual activity, to include infants and toddlers.
There's about 8 billion people in the world, and about 5.5 billion people have access to the internet. So that landscape when it comes to child exploitation has changed because people are able to reach more people without actually being in one physical location.
It only took FBI agents days to weave the next step in their web, which would take them to College Station, Texas. A criminal complaint from the Southern District of Texas says Chadwick spent nearly a year sharing child pornography with Clinton Harnden. They last talked just 2 days before Chadwick was arrested, and Harnden was in the Brazos County Jail by the end of the week.
Investigations at the federal level can take a lot of time. I can tell you that when it comes to ongoing victimization of a child, a subject has possession of a child, access to a child, it is escalated to try to remove that person from victimization as quickly as possible.
The team that worked on this case right in Bryan College Station, they worked their butts off to really push this case forward.
Harnden lived a life that looked normal. He was an active volunteer and worked for the Texas A&M Engineering Experiment Station. But court records now reveal something more sinister was happening.
It's the guy next door. Typically, when a person gets arrested, you have the neighbor and everybody else going, I can't believe it. I've known this guy all my life.
The FBI says he and Chadwick did more than just share photos and videos. Chadwick provided Harnden a guide on how to have sexual intercourse with children as young as 2. Court documents show he and Chadwick would later admit to the FBI agents that Harnden had performed sexual acts near a child and talked about it online.
And it can happen anywhere. It's one of those things that happens in the shadows. An individual spouse, best friend, parents, brother, sister may have no knowledge that this individual is involved.
When we come back, it takes a dedicated team to bring them to justice. I got to know the FBI agents taking down criminals exploiting children.
There's about 8 billion people in the world, and about 5.5 billion people have access to the internet.
In a connected world, anything you're looking for can be at your fingertips. A convenience that has child pornographers taking advantage.
The use of the internet has increased the ability for predators to exploit children much more widely and much more often.
The Justice Department says the number of people sentenced for victimizing minors remotely has doubled in the last decade. It's deeper than typical online searching.
Some of them would use a browser called Tor. It was originally, built and designed by the Navy for, secure communications for, SEAL teams and stuff.
And happens in online communities that didn't exist a decade ago.
When we talk about the dark web, you're talking about a whole separate part of the internet.
Those are some of the barriers that we face, but I would say collectively the group finds a way to get it done.
The internet may give criminals more tools to be anonymous, but it also gives law enforcement more tools to catch them. The Justice Department says 4 times more people are going to jail for producing child pornography than in 2010. But making those cases takes hard work.
It takes a host of resources to try to drill down, number one, and find victims, as well as also find the perpetrators behind these crimes.
This is where collaboration comes in. Federal agents can walk in a door of a smaller agency and completely turn a case around.
So all of a sudden you went from having no resources to having anything you can imagine.
The FBI's Violent Crimes Against Children program works with federal, state, local, tribal, and international law enforcement to fight the sexual exploitation of children.
We have 98 of these across the country.
The FBI is working to fight those crimes, which happen more than ever on the dark web.
You can have anything on there from someone selling tons of credit cards or access to a bank account, child porn. It's just anything goes.
Federal agents study these websites, photos, and videos. They come face to face with the people who see them as normal. They put themselves in the perpetrator's shoes to catch them.
I mean, when you have a conversation going with an individual who's basically negotiating sex acts for his 8-month-old daughter, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I think it does take a toll on them.
This is one of the only violations in the FBI that folks can raise their hand and say, hey, I don't want to do that anymore, just because the toll it does take.
A toll agents were willing to pay when the trail led them to Aggieland.
The team that worked on this case right in Bryan College Station, they worked their butts off to really push this case forward.
This is one of those things that we never stop investigating. It's not like a sports season that ends and takes a break. It's life, it's happening.
But where is it happening? In nearly half of cases, exploitation starts on a phone or the internet. There are dozens of apps parents should know and have conversations with their kids about.
It's almost like advertising. If I had a billboard up, I had a limited population, but if I get it online, I have more people and more reach. And you can be anybody you want to be on the internet at any time and any place. And a lot of times our vulnerable populations fall victim to that.
Messenger apps like Kik, Discord, Wicker, Telegram, and WhatsApp may just be used for messaging friends, but they also allow anonymous messaging and video chats.
There are a lot of services out there now that's encrypted. There are some services that are outside the scope of the federal government.
Social networks can be just as dangerous. Snapchat and Instagram let users take and share photos and videos, including their location. Those messages can also be set to disappear over time. Once a message is sent, users don't always have control over what happens next.
Photos online can be distributed anywhere. They can go internationally in seconds.
Live video apps are also a prime target. Twitch is known for video games and esports, but an independent investigation showed hundreds of thousands of children had been mass targeted on the app. Other apps like Hala and Chat Roulette allow anonymous strangers to meet on live video chat. But no service has become more synonymous with child exploitation than the dark or deep web.
But it's out there. You just download it like you do Google. And a lot of people use that. There's other random domain generators out there that people will do to try to hide themselves while they're going to these dark web sites and looking at these photos.
Users access the dark web through what's called an onion browser, like Tor. One study showed as much as 80% of the traffic on the dark web went to services that offered illegal pornography. Experts say parents staying involved and talking openly is key to safety online.
Parents specifically need to be involved, be aware of what apps they're using, how they work, who they're communicating with online across multiple platforms, gaming, etc. And educate your children on the dangers of posting pictures. Parents should be cognizant of what they're posting when they're posting pictures of their children.
Coming up in just 2 minutes, days after Clinton Harnden was handcuffed, came another high-profile arrest. This one for manufacturing images of children as young as 8. The lesson his case offers to every parent.
It may be a teacher, it may be a doctor, it may be the bus driver.
In some instances, you may not be, one, aware that you're being recorded, or two, you may not be aware that it's being shared. Every time it is shared, that person is re-victimized.
On November 13th, Matthew Johnson came face to face with federal agents at his door for the second time. His case started in California, where he worked as a school counselor.
According to my son and a few other kids, he's always in the hallway, and his office is right next to the kindergarten area. It's next to the bathrooms.
Fear and frustration is growing at La Sierra Academy in Riverside as parents learn of the disturbing allegations involving child pornography and a hidden camera being made against Matthew Johnson, a school counselor. The criminal investigation now involves 2 agencies in 2 counties. Riverside police are handling accusations that the 30-year-old secretly recorded boys in a bathroom at the school.
We do have some digital evidence to corroborate that, and under his own admission, we believe that he did install some type of hidden recording device in a bathroom. We don't know how long that had been going on, and we don't know how many images or recordings were made. We do have many.
This is where Matthew Johnson was arrested on Wednesday in San Bernardino County. Officials say in an apartment in Loma Linda, more than 600 images of child pornography were seized, many of prepubescent boys. During an undercover operation, Fontana police say they caught Johnson as detectives scoured the internet for predators.
This morning there was a lot of parents. I saw fathers crying. I saw mothers that were confused.
Jolie Ramirez wants answers from administrators at the Seventh-day Adventist school about why, in her words, Matthew Johnson's counseling door was always closed with students inside.
He was very involved with the youth at church here. Just last week, I shook my hand, introduced himself because my son ran up and said that he was an amazing person. And so to find this out, I'm like, I shook his hand. I wish I could go back.
Records say Johnson was in possession of over 600 child pornography images.
They're a predator. They're a child predator. They're a hunter. Hunters are going to put themselves in places where their prey is. And for these guys, their prey are the kids. So you're going to find them in school teaching positions. You're going to find them in youth minister positions. They're going to position themselves where they can have access to the children.
And that's not just the case with Johnson. Herndon brags about his job to Chadwick in messages, the same job the FBI used to locate him at Texas A&M's Engineering Extension Service. Herndon held a trusted position in a place that hosted current and future students. Texas A&M fired him early this month. Edward Green, who started the chain of events that led agents to Herndon, also worked as a university leader. Green's LinkedIn shows he commanded Coastal Carolina University's ROTC after retiring from the military. But Green had his secrets. In conversations with federal agents, Green detailed a life where child exploitation was instilled as normal, beginning with his own childhood.
There were some family issues involved at that, but yeah, basically I wanted to go out and be on my own.
Back in California, federal agents arrested Matthew Johnson in March of 2020, the same time a worldwide pandemic hit. He was released on bail, and shortly after, Johnson's case fell through the cracks, until he relocated to Texas with his wife.
All the investigations that we have done here locally, I cannot think of an instance where we haven't worked with the local partners. Brazos County in particular is really fortunate to have very professional, cooperative, and a cohesive law enforcement community.
In just the last year, Brazos County has handled 5 arrests related to child pornography cases. 3 of those have been since just November.
It is something that happens in the shadows. It's not something that people advertise that they're into child pornography.
But how do you combat something people work so hard to hide?
Brazos County in particular is really fortunate to have very professional, cooperative, and a cohesive law enforcement community. They're continually helping each other out, they're continually helping us out, and the same goes for the nonprofits.
The Brazos Valley has resources, not just for those investigations, but for those victims.
They're going to need counseling, they're going to need help.
One of those is Scotty's house.
We know that sexual abuse is a part of a child's story. We don't want it to be the entire story. We want it to be just a chapter in the story of their life.
It takes an incredible amount of work and a lot of willing advocates.
That trauma is going to be with them the rest of their life. They need to have the skills to deal with it the rest of their life, so that if a child or later an adult is triggered, they know what to do to make sure they're taking care of themselves.
But these victims can only make it to a place like Scotty's house with help.
There is help. If you find yourself in this cycle of victimization, please reach out and let somebody know there are resources available.
We really push the parents to give the kid an avenue to talk to somebody so we can get the appropriate help for them.
They're going to need trusted adults to be comfortable enough to come forward and say, I am a victim, whether that's a teacher, parent, law enforcement, whoever. I would just encourage the community to be vigilant, parents to educate themselves, teachers and victims to make an outcry if you feel like that's happening.
If you're concerned about someone you know, you can make a tip online now at ic3.gov or by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children also has resources online for filing a report or beginning a conversation. Thank you for watching.